Good day to each and everyone. Today, the Group 6 we're going to discuss the historical antecedents which changed the course of science and technology. But before we start, let us show you our objectives in order for us to be guided throughout our discussion. Science and technology play a significant role in our daily life. The advances we observed are not only the result of creativity of people or a one-time cycle of thinking. They are often brought on by incremental changes to earlier works from various periods of time. The driving force behind this continuous progress is the need to improve the people's quality of life. Before we discuss how science and technology influence and shape social environments over 3 historical periods, let us first understand what antecedents mean. Antecedent is described as a precursor to the unfolding of something or life. Historical backgrounds in science and technology are therefore influences which paved the way for advanced and sophisticated advancements in science and technology that are present today. Awareness of science and technology history is useful in today's evolution of such inventions. Through recognizing how previous generations affected and were affected through scientific and technological advances, today's generation will come up with educated decisions on the correct application of science and technology to everyday life. During ancient times, people were concerned with transportation and navigation, communication and record keeping, mass production, safety and protection, as well as hygiene, aesthetics, and architecture. So transportation was important as people wanted to go to places and explore new horizons. They traveled to find food and to find better places for their settlements. They even traveled in return for items they needed to sell their surplus goods, while navigation helped them on their journeys to exotic and unknown areas of the world. Communication was also important for their attempts to explore new places and to occupy them. They needed a way to communicate with the inhabitants of the areas they were visiting to promote trade and avoid future conflicts. Record keeping was also important as they needed to remember the places they had been to and record each other's trade they had made. Guns and armors have also been important in exploring new places or in forming new alliances with other tribes. Different diseases and illnesses, both natural and man-made, hindered a human being's full ability. Science and technology played a significant role in the development of treatments for, if not the prevention of. People moved into what is now known as the engineering sector. In order to combine their needs for better transportation, the establishment of systems to defend against humans' attacks and natural disasters, and the development of larger and stronger infrastructures. In the ancient times, intricate architectural structures were signs of a particular civilization's technical development, and architecture will be seen as a status symbol among nations in future generations of how advanced their technology is. This can also form a nation's identity. Aside from influencing people's lives, the advances in science and technology were the product of many prior precedents. People in ancient times were able to discover and invent inevitably things that would affect modern people's lives. For further discussion, you will encounter the various great technological developments of the ancient times, including some of the early civilization accomplishments such as the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians. It explains the incremental application of knowledge up to the present.
Hello everyone, I am LLEGUE. Today I am going to discuss the ancient period and its great technological developments. Ancient period is the aggregate of past events from the beginning of writing and recorded human history and extending as far as late antiquity. The first invention during the ancient time is the cuneiform. The cuneiform is a device that makes use of word representations and triangular symbols carved on clay using wedge instruments and left to dry. With the help of cuneiform, the Sumerians enabled to keep records of historically important items or their daily lives. Next is wheel. The Sumerians have been able to invent the wheel in the latter part of their history, as the advanced tools required to build it were already available. Now let's proceed to the paper of papyrus. Papyrus was a plant in Egypt which grew abundantly along the river Nile. The Egyptians were able to process the plant to create thin sheets that one could write stuff down on. Like the Sumerians, the Egyptians also established a writing system that used symbols known as hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics was a language which tells the modern world or the ancient Egyptian history and culture. Another one is the water mills. Water mills were considered one of the greatest contributions of the Greek civilization to the world. This is very helpful to the farmers. The use of water mills made milling possible, mass production of grains, cereals, flours, and the like. Next is the Romans' greatest contributions, the newspaper. When paper was invented, it became easier to the Romans to publish matters which required the Romans' attention. And last but not the least is codex. The ancient Roman Empire was able to produce the first books of codex, with the papyrus pages bound together and covered with animal skin. That's all the technological development during the ancient period. I hope you learned something.
Modern period by Roy Aldrin B. Duguinees from Best in English 1A. Pasteurization. Pasteurization is now defined as the process of heating every particle of milk or milk product in properly designed and operated equipment to any of the one specified pasteurization time temperature combination by Food and Drug Administration by 2011. Um, Pasteurization. This is really common for us because we are drinking milk every day, but not really like a lot of us. But some of us really love to drink milk, and some often we use milk to blend from coffee, from any other sort of product that has some milk, because um on a dessert they can't complete the dessert without a milk. That is why milk is really important. Pasteurizations help or give us a really big process, or really give us a hand to taste much better. Pasteurization is a relatively mild heat treatment that causes minor changes to the nutritional and sensory characteristics of most food. However, the shelf life of pasteurized foods is usually only extended by a few days or weeks, compared with many months with the more severe sterilization heat treatment. Pasteurizations explain how we drink or how milk benefits to us. But before that, um, the pasteurization gives us so much information about the treatment, the process, how they make the milk. That was the pasteurization is about. But it talks more about our healthy living lifestyles because of the milk, how it gives so much energy and so much calories that we need in our body. Petroleum refining. The major products of oil refining are LPG, gasoline, diesel, and etc. Petroleum refining is mostly or commonly used nowadays because there are people, or because of the conservative of the Filipinos, or not just the Filipino people but all over the world. The petroleum refining is currently most common thing that we use every day. Um, especially LPG, gasoline, diesel, fuel oil. Those are the most common that we use every day, or our necessities, because we can travel through a place where we want if there are no fuels in our car. That is why it is really important. And also, because of the we need to protect our Mother Earth, petroleum refining is really the most effective way to minimize um, the air pollution. And petroleum refining plays a big role in the society, and plays a big role in the economy, because of petroleum refining there are a lot of gasoline stations that have been built, infrastructure building because of petroleum refining, and other sort of building that because of petroleum refining. And people are really um, resourceful because they could create or they use gasoline in order for us to travel in an easy way. These are the four refinery needs. Achieve oil production quotas by meeting product, quality, particulate, and water specs. Achieve product specs without the need for expensive processing. Protections against corrosion and contaminations of product transfer equipment. Protections of end users' equipment against corrosion and plugging. Telephone. It is an instrument designed for the simultaneous transmissions and receptions of the human voice. The telephone is inexpensive, is simple to operate, and offers its users an immediate, personal type of communication that cannot be obtained through other mediums. Um, Telephone right now is really the most common thing that we use. Some kid or some students or some other people couldn't live without a telephone, because telephone is really the most easiest thing that we can communicate to other people. And because of telephone, the globalization can be easier. Telephone, we could communicate in our loved ones in a very very far distance. That is why we just have to click our phone, and then we could call them and talk to them. That is why telephone is the most easiest and effective way to communicate or to check our loved ones in a very distant place. Calculator is a device that performs arithmetic or operations on number. Basic calculators can do only additions, subtractions, multiplications, and divisions, mathematical calculation. Now, calculator. It comes in our mind when we say calculator, it was like the basic sequence of math that was in our mind. But calculators also plays a big role also in our society. It's because of it helps us to solve proper problems in math in an easiest way. Example, basic calculus. You can solve, or it's hard for you to solve basic calculus without the calculator. And because of calculator, the cashier could easily add the thing that we need to buy because of the calculator. And also, calculator plays a really really big role in the society because it could minimize your job and can make it more easier because of calculator. You wouldn't spend enough time or most of the time to solve what it needs to be solved because of the calculator. You just have to click the numbers, and then you choose the subtractions and addition, multiplication, division, whatever the formula or whatever the thing that you need to use in the calculator, you can use it. And also, calculator is really helpful for us or a student like me that really didn't know how to solve math, or not really typically like um not really into math, but because of calculator, it helps me to um solve what it has to be solved. And that would be all. Thank you.
The advantages we observed are not only results of the creativity of people or a one-time cycle of thinking. They are often brought on by incremental changes to earlier works from various periods of time. Thus, there are a lot of Philippine inventions along with the historical antecedents which changed the course of science and technology. The first one is salamander amphibious tricycle. Victor Lave and his team at H2O Technologies have been able to develop the salamander, turning it into a tricycle with more passengers to handle. This also can be used for island-to-island travel, since the Philippines is an archipelago. The second Philippine invention is the salt lamp. Philippines needs electrification. Thus, the salt lamp, developed by a young scientist from the Philippines, Isa Mihino, was able to develop an environmentally friendly source of light that works and does not emit harmful gases using plentiful resource in the Philippine salt water. The third Philippine invention is the medical incubator. Dr. Fe Del Mundo, a pediatrician from the Philippines and the first Asian woman admitted to Harvard Medical School, built a medical incubator made of indigenous and inexpensive materials that do not operate on electricity. Because of the lack of availability of incubators, which cause highly mortality rates of newborn babies in the Philippines, Dr. Fe Del Mundo made the medical incubator. The fourth Philippine invention is the mosquito arvicidal trap system. This is also known as the OL trap. This trap device consists of naturally occurring components that are deadly to mosquitoes but safe for people and climate. The last Philippine invention is the e-jeepney. This new method of transportation uses electricity rather than diesel. It is an environmentally friendly because there is no smoke and noise it releases. So in summary, one of the EST's main concern as an academic field is the science and technology past, which focuses on how science and technology have evolved over time. This also examines the impacts of science and technological advances throughout history on the dominant social, cultural, political, and economic concerns. Conversely, the circumstances that influence science and technology are now being paid attention to. Generally, its interests lie in the context history of scientific and technological advances. Thank you.